Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is July 11th, and today we're taking a look at the visible satellite imagery here. And what you see is what you get, folks. A nice couple of days coming up. You can see hardly any clouds across the region, maybe a few high clouds moving across Oregon there, maybe a few low clouds right along the immediate coastline there of Washington. But a couple of glorious days coming up here. Let's check the temperatures here in a moment and see just how much we're going to warm up and when we can expect clouds to return to the Pacific Northwest here. And if we take a wider view, you can see that Gulf of Alaska troughing here. We're bringing us our nice days. It is bringing some cloud and precipitation activity here to central and northern British Columbia here. But for the most part, Pacific Northwest is going to warm up pretty nicely these next 2 days. You can see some trade winds for Hawaii. You'll see a hurricane down here off the coast of Mexico. You can see a nicely developed eye there. And now as we look into SeaTac, 75 yesterday, 2 degrees below average. We're going to beat that average temperature today as we go to low to mid 80s for Seattle. Nowhere near the 98 degrees, though, in 2007, the record for today. And as we go into this is long wave radiation. This is basically a simulation of the infrared satellite imagery here. And as we scroll through today, you can see not much, maybe a few high clouds at best. And then tomorrow afternoon and evening, though, you'll see some thunderstorm potential pop up for eastern Oregon and Washington on in through the night. And through Wednesday morning, that activity will finally push off into Idaho and Montana on through Wednesday afternoon. So we might cool down a bit Wednesday before we look like we might warm back up again Tuesday or Thursday and Friday on into the weekend, and I'll show you why here in a moment. This is the NAM 3KM temperature for today. You can see some low 80s for the Seattle area, up towards 90 for Portland. Check out eastern Washington. And again, the coastline cools down a bit, and you can see the immediate shoreline of the Puget Sound up through southwest BC and the Strait of Juan de Fuca are nice and cool. So if you want to beat the heat, go there, or the upper terrain here. If you want some heat, go to eastern Washington and the Willamette Valley today. Now, checking out the composite reflectivity, I want to scroll this through into Tuesday afternoon. You can see those rogue thunderstorms moving up through eastern Oregon and Washington. So we're going to watch out for those tomorrow evening and nighttime. And that activity could go on through Wednesday morning before it pushes off Wednesday afternoon into Idaho and Montana. So checking out the European here, 500 millibars, and you can see that trough digging out and bringing us our nice weather here for these couple of days across Pacific Northwest. Maybe a little bit of cool down Wednesday before we potentially start warming back up again later this week on into the weekend. You can see this troughing out here is going to probably bring a little bit of ridging to the area as we go through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday before we start to cool down a bit again on into next week. This trough gets fairly close to the area, and we'll see what kind of impacts that has as we go day by day here. We'll see what this position ends up on this trough here. Now looking here, the GFS, it's kind of been trending warm with these temperatures, but you can see for tomorrow, look at this, upper 80s for Seattle, down towards Olympia, upper 80s for Portland, Willamette Valley, again, cooler along the coastline, Puget Sound immediate shorelines, and the Strait of Juan de Fuca. But look at eastern Washington, up towards 100, even low 100s for tomorrow. And as we go on into Wednesday, you'll see a bit of a cool down for the Willamette Valley and the Puget Sound, up towards 80 degrees. As we get a little bit of marine influence there. And as we go on into Thursday, we start to warm back up again. And check out Friday, too. We start to warm back up again there. So we're going to have to watch that coming up here and just see what the exact position of this trough is and how close it's going to get to the region and how much we're going to warm up again on in through this next weekend. Because this is bordering on a heat wave here for Seattle. If you start getting multiple days up into the mid and upper 80s, that's pretty significant for Seattle and Portland. And you can see eastern Washington well into the 90s and even some low 100s on into Friday. Check out Saturday. Do it again. Here goes Sunday evening. We start to cool down a bit again here, but we're getting far out in the forecast, a little bit of ahead of ourselves here. And this is the GFS. Let's check out what it says. Of course, good agreement with that trough moving through, maybe cooling us down for a day or two at best before another trough over the Gulf of Alaska develops and we stay fairly warm through the weekend. But then you can see that upper level trough dropping through here as we go through Sunday into Monday. So we'll see how much that cools us down. And some, the European, the GFS are actually pretty good agreement here through early next week on that trough. And the GFS dropping another trough down through mid next week. So we'll continue to watch that as the GFS, look at that, even has a little hurricane down there near Cabo there in Baja, California there. Now checking this out, the herd today calling for, again, mid to upper 80s are possible here as we go through the day today. Pretty Good forecast if you look out the last several hours. It's pretty consistently showing 82, 83 for Seattle here on the high resolution refresh model. Now, as we look at the GFS for Portland, look at this, calling for low 90s today, upper 80s tomorrow. Cool down a little bit with that trough passing to our north, and then maybe warm back up again this weekend before that next trough tries to settle in there. So again, this is probably going to fluctuate and change as we go through the forecast the next couple of days here. Spokane, you can see nice warm temperatures, a little bit of a trough influence here on Wednesday, Thursday before we warm back up again, and then maybe another trough following that into early next week. So here's Seattle, Tacoma calling for those low to mid 80s today, maybe upper 80s tomorrow. A little bit of model discrepancy on just how warm we're going to get tomorrow. A little bit of that trough influence there, and maybe warming back up again on in through next weekend before another trough possibly comes down. So we'll continue to monitor those troughs to see if there's any kind of thunderstorm potential across the region here. Doesn't look like too dynamic. These systems don't look that dynamic as of right now, so we'll just continue to watch them. That can change. One of the European models had a pretty direct hit from one of the troughs. I think it was yesterday mornings, I want to say. I'm not exactly sure. But you can see we've got some pleasant weather coming up here. You can see temperatures generally remaining at least in the 70s. And the GFS is calling for, a pretty good stretch of temperatures near 80 degrees on in through later July. I wanted to show you this really quick too. Seattle, Tacoma, total precipitation. I mean, going through mid-July, you can see what the control calls for 3/100 of an inch, and the mean is just for under 2/100 of an inch. It's that time of season, folks. We get really dry here in many areas of the Pacific Northwest. We're drier than a lot of places in even California, Arizona, and New Mexico, just because they start getting that monsoon moisture down there, which, it brings some precipitation. But Seattle, we just start really drying out here as we get towards mid and late July, our driest portion of the year. So get out and enjoy those days. I mean, check out the Go 17. We're just clear as a bell across the region. In aviation, we call this severe clear. So we'll do this again tomorrow. We'll check out the forecast again. We'll check out what kind of temperatures we can expect for tomorrow, what kind of thunderstorm potential we have for Tuesday night into Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday night tomorrow. So we'll take a look at that. So make sure to click like and subscribe. I'm working on a video right now. Also, I'm putting all my Dust Devil footage into one video, or kind of the best of the footage, and it's over an hour long already. So I'm just going to put that out there. So if anybody just wants to watch Dust Devils for an hour, or just at least I get to document my Dust Devil chases all into one place and put it on YouTube. So I'll probably release that tomorrow or the next day or so. So I'm working on that, and I'm working on several other things, such as the cold weather outbreaks into the region, the Puget Sound convergence zone. We're going to do a big video on windstorms and classic windstorms from the past, and what kind of atmospheric setups bring us our best windstorms across the region. So working on that too. So yeah, I will talk to you guys tomorrow, and enjoy this nice stretch of weather.